I remember butt rock was a big thing. Oh, you like butt rock? And
Yeah.
Like, then I found out what butt rock was, and it's just like singers who sing with strained voices or something. Like if you look up the actual definition, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I do. I think I just like butt. I can't beat this charge. Like I like butt rock. I
Gotcha.
Guess. I thought it was like hair metal. I thought that's what butt rock was.
Yeah, I never knew specifically what butt rock was. So it's like Puddle of Mud be considered butt rock?
Certainly, but so would Nirvana. So would like. There's like a.
To put the two in the same category.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm not the one. I didn't make up the term.
These judgmental fuck.
A podcast hosted by two white comedians, a stereotype about the blandest ingredients that childhoods didn't prepare them for life. Sexual tension you can cut with a knife. Podcast. Two white comedians. Podcast. Two white comedians.
All right, folks.
Hey.
We're back. We're actually back for the second time today, even though we're only recording one episode today because we started. Man, were we getting into it? It was real.
That was a hot start.
Heavy.
Hot start.
And we.
Now this one feels fake.
Yes, complete. But we're actually we finished recording. What we thought was a recording. Luckily, we had it on the cameras. We pulled the transcript down. Now we're reading off teleprompters. It's a whole production setup, but we are back. We fucked up the beginning of the last one, and by fucked up I mean I forgot to hit record. Which, by the way, now we've had an episode where I lost the audio and an episode where I was completely out of focus the entire episode. The one we lost the audio, also I lost one of the camera angles. It was what a dream a producer would be for this.
That one where you're out of focus, it just looks like a kind of like a movie scene where I'm talking to like a ghost or just like somebody from the past talking through a TV.
It's like Casey's been dead for 30 years. I will say one of the benefits of having the like buffer shrink is I'm not holding 5 episodes worth of files and managing 5 episodes worth of files. So hopefully none of that stuff keeps happening. But you never know. We're not good. We're not good at this.
What are you gonna do?
So when you last heard from us, I had just talked about doing the Adam Ray Supersonics thing.
Yes.
The following weekend, and I keep saying I'm at the end of my cool stuff of comedy, like my cool stretch, and then I remember like I actually did cool stuff this weekend too. But one of the things that ended it was I was supposed to go to Fort Wayne, Indiana with Steve Renazzisi. And then my family's a little worn out from me being gone for so long, and I had the opportunity to stay in town and open for my buddy Matthew Broussard at the Emerald City Comedy Club. The second weekend it was open. Me, Matthew Broussard, and Jess Anderson, who was part of the original ownership group of Comedy Bar, who now is involved in this Emerald City Comedy Club. So it's by the way, you have not yet stepped foot in there, right?
I am there tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, for My Straight Friends, which that'll have happened already.
Yes.
By the time this comes out, we will have recorded your reaction to that next week, I believe.
Yeah.
Dude, it's beautiful.
I've heard nothing but amazing things about it.
Comedy Bar was nice. And I performed there not only as Comedy Bar, but it was like a vegan metal bar before that.
Oh,
it was called like the Highline.
I have been in that room before.
Yeah, but it felt nothing like that.
There was a long gap in between, and then when you walk in, it's like totally, it looks completely different than it did then. So now the third evolution.
I like how when I start taking a drink, you're like, that's my cue to stop talking, actually. Is the moment we can create a big awkward pause. Well, I would have taken a gulp except for my co-host to let me down.
Like, take your shoes off and they do the gulp, 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 gulp.
You're the one that recommended that podcast.
Love that podcast.
I always credit Alex Kaufman for that. It's what's his name? Rick Glassman.
Yeah, the past couple, the latest 2 episodes have been very funny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very funny.
Don't turn this podcast off, folks. Listen to our podcast. All of the episodes all the way through, and then you can give Rick Glassman a try.
We can tag him and get some of his listeners. Maybe there'll be a crossover.
The production value almost equal. Anyway, So yeah, dude, the I used to go there when I did like a roast, like a buddy roast or something there with I remember Taylor Bonzer and I did a show there together. Friend of the podcast, former comedian Taylor Bonzer.
The wife did. That's why I was there. Is the wife was doing a roast with another person that is no longer in this scene, but really.
I bet I know. Made a mark?
It really made a mark, yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, the reason I stopped going to the venue that became a comedy bar is because our friend Taylor Bonzer got a drunken, angry email from the person who booked him on that show that was like, "You said autistic, and I can't believe you would say autistic on the." By the way,
that person around still?
I've seen him recently. Yes.
Interesting.
We could talk. I think you probably know the person.
Oh yes.
But, yeah. So, anyways, we can talk about that after. This person gets this person sends a super angry email to Taylor. He sends it to me, and I was like, "Listen, man, I didn't say anything crazy. No one's gonna be mad at me." But I'm just going to quietly, this is how you do it, dude. Just quietly don't work with that person anymore.
Yeah.
I don't need to go ruin their life. I don't need to call them out. I don't need to, and that person, by the way, was trying to call people out all the time. On other stuff.
Oh, daddy.
But I'm like, I'm just going to quietly not work with that person. And then I did see them recently, and I would theoretically work with them again. I guess I don't hold grudges for too long, but I would be very wary about saying anything in front of that person. And it wasn't also just Taylor, by the way. There was another a female comic who I would put on there's like I'm going to use the word woke right now.
Okay.
But I'm not trying to turn this into a fucking alt-right podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say is there are people who talk the talk and there are people who walk the walk that are on the far ends of the woke spectrum.
Yes.
And this is a person who walks the walk. That I really is out there putting in hours and sweat equity on this shit. I'm not even kidding. I'm saying this is a person who's
boots on the ground.
Yeah, and you're taking this as sarcastic. I really mean it. I'm saying there are people who say stuff because they want you to like them more. They want to be popular, and there are people who are out actually trying to further this cause. This is one of those people who should be aligned with this person who is the booker, but apparently used like a word that the bartender didn't like. I'm not even kidding. And got the same kind of angry email. This person doesn't even know I'm protesting on their behalf, by the way, because they probably don't like me either. But this is it's annoying having principles. It's annoying to have principles because then you have to defend people who don't like you, who would never defend you, right? On their behalf, people who would never fuck with me at all. I'm like, well, if you're gonna treat that person that way, then fuck you.
Right. Yep. Well.
So anyway, though, I go to Emerald City Comedy Club. Beautiful build out. The comedy bar build out I thought was really nice. Really an improvement over that vegan metal bar.
Oh yeah.
But they like knocked down a wall and capacity went from being like, I don't know, 75 to 300 or something like that. It is huge.
It's that much bigger?
Enormous. Man. It's like it's as big as Tacoma Comedy Club. The capacity is as big as Tacoma Comedy Club, I suspect.
Wow.
The downtown club, the big club.
They did it quick, it seemed like, too.
Dude, I know. It's like 4 months.
Right.
Like, it's the craziest... because I've known a bunch of people who've tried to do that kind of thing, have tried to assume, like, buy a new business, buy an existing business, remodel it a little bit, get it open quickly, and it's like the state of Washington usually makes it very difficult, but in this case, it happened very quickly. I agree with you. So you show up, and by the way, it was funny. It was like the nicest days of the year so far were the days that I was there. So you go into the green room, and it's the green room is now, used to be behind the stage. Now it's an office that's just off the bar. And...
Oh, gotcha.
Or like, I mean, it's not an office, but it's like a pretty small room.
And bar is in the same spot that it was? Okay.
There's on one side of there's black curtains on the inside, but on the other side of those black curtains, there are just enormous windows. So... there's just like radiant heat. So they have an air conditioner running, but it's like it was either too cold or too hot. It was very, I mean, by the way, like,
it's a greenhouse now.
Ooh-wee. So fun though, and it was nice, to go in and see like familiar faces that I know in a place that's like technically new, but like we know one of the owners pretty well,
Yeah.
and we know Jess and Dane, who are the original owners of Comedy Bar, pretty well. And so, like, it was nice to see them and work with Jess and see that just this brand new club that was kind of built out of the minds of two of the most prominent club owners in the country. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of, you could see, like, you'd be walking down and you're like, that's that guy, that's that guy, that's that. Like, you would start to pick out these,
right.
like, kind of design touches and whatever. And it's, like, really just set up beautifully. And a club that Seattle needs, by the way. In my lifetime, or my time doing comedy, I guess we should say, the closest Seattle had to an A club was when the Parlor was there.
Yeah.
And I don't know a ton about the Parlor, but I know that, like, the Seattle room was very short-lived.
Gotcha. That died like very shortly. Was that still there when you started?
No.
Okay.
Or if it was like, I never went to, like, if they had an open mic, I never went to it, and there was never a show I got booked on there.
I think I was in that room once, and then it died.
Gotcha. You might have been the one that killed it, actually. Sounds like.
I'm sorry.
And Matthew Broussard is like, I mean, now I'm starting to, I was thinking about it. I think it's the 5th time I've worked with him. There's a couple of these comics who it's really starting to stack up how many times I've worked with them. If I had gone to Indiana, it would have been the 3rd time I worked with Steve Renazzisi. Mm-hmm. I've worked with Matthew Broussard at least 5 times. Like 5 separate weekends, not 5 shows. 5 separate weekends.
Gotcha.
Ronan I've done a bunch of shows with, obviously. Joe List I've done a bunch of shows with. There was somebody else that I worked with that I was like, shit, man. It's been... Well, Ismo, who I'm going to talk about soon. Mm-hmm. 2nd time I've worked with him, just weirdly, because he happened to be in Indianapolis.
And not one of them will pick you up.
Oh, my God. I still haven't put that clip out. I haven't put the clip out. I could be viral for that clip at this very moment. But yeah, just like a very fun weekend. Matthew Broussard has the smartest fans in comedy. He's like a legit mathematician.
Oh,
and so he like worked in finance for a while, and he still does math tutoring as like a community service, basically. Like, or maybe he needs the money. I don't know. I'm not trying to put his business out there, but he seems like he seems like he's doing great, and also, and I think he's getting married. Not invited to the wedding, but I think he's getting married in like 10 days.
Maybe you can tape it.
Yeah, maybe you'll let me film it. That'd be nice for free. No lodging. Anyway, some of those guys, like he's like, it's really a thing about comedy that's funny as you go. He has such an enviable career, and then you're like, oh fuck, he's probably like not doing that. He lives in New York. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
I think his girlfriend or fiance, who I've met also a couple times, it's very nice, and she actually did. She's a comic. She started doing comedy like right before the pandemic. I met her a couple years before the pandemic. She started comedy sometime shortly before that.
Gotcha.
Or before. Did I?
Gotcha.
No, I met her. No, maybe I met her right after she had started comedy. One thing I appreciated about her, by the way, was a whole weekend. It was New Year's, Tacoma Comedy Club. She was there the whole weekend. I was featuring. There was a host on the show. Ronan was doing guest spots. It took until the last night, the late show, before she even mentioned she was a comic in that green room.
That's
really
nice.
admired the shit out of that.
That's nice.
She was very new. I mean, she was like 6 months in or something like that. But I really admired. She didn't ever shoehorn it in. I think I might have asked, have you ever considered doing comedy? Because she's very funny. Mm-hmm. And yeah. Anyways, good weekend with Broussard. I did have one kind of odd run-in. Well, first off, this is not related. I pulled up on Saturday, and there were like, I don't know, 8 police SUVs on the like 1 block away from the club, and there's like cops just surrounding somebody. And this is just like really, I don't want to be like a boomer that's like, you can't, Seattle's so scary, because I don't feel that way at all. But what I will say is, it was like such a non-event that I went into the club and I was like, you guys know there's like 8 SUVs, and there's like a guy being detained by like 15 cops right now, and they're like, I think he got released from a prison or something. We don't know. Like, it was like such a non-event. But I think it was on Friday night. I was selling merch, and this guy comes up to me with like, it starts out, you're just like, I can tell this guy's not from here because of the energy he comes with. It's like very East Coast energy. And then he starts out, he goes, you may not remember me, but I was arguing with you in the comments of your grandpa joke, the joke about my grandpa that's viral.
Oh, yeah.
About sobriety. And then it starts to take a turn where you're like...
Were you doing it over Skype or something? Why would you remember?
Well, he like argued with me. We had like multiple exchange argument.
Gotcha.
And I'm sure he doesn't argue with as many people as commented on that. Like, for me, he's just a guy commenting in the hundreds of comments on that. But for him, I don't think he comments on that many comedy videos. He doesn't get angry and like, if this dude's getting angry in a lot of comedy videos, it's a sad life. So anyways, he comes at me with this like real energy of like I'm like, am I gonna fight this guy? Am I gonna have to get my ass beat by this guy? And to the point that Matthew Broussard like steps up and is like there to be involved in whatever's like to intervene in some form.
Is he like posturing on you or like what's... And by the way, sorry buddy if you're listening, this ends well, but like when he came up, I'm like, this stereotypical East Coast Italian dude is, and then he's like, and I was mad at you on the internet a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh fuck. And then he's like, yeah, but you like said something about it's just comedy, and I didn't even come for this show for you, because I'm like, oh fuck, this guy came to the show to have this argument in person, and he's like, I didn't even know you were on this. I'm so happy you were. You were fucking great. Like it turns out very positive, but the energy he came up with. The fact that he's from the East Coast and I'm a lilting fucking West Coast passive aggressive pussy, and he like it just was like very confrontational right off the bat, like Broussard luckily like picks up on this and he's like, yeah, that joke about your grandpa, and he without knowing what was happening immediately goes, that joke's so funny, that joke you have about your grandpa, it's so funny, and he does know the joke. Yeah,
he was like describing it, but it was also like can you help me diffuse this situation?
Gotcha.
And then later, by the way, there was this lady from who had flown from Arizona just to see Matthew Broussard in Seattle. Wow. That was like very obviously hammered drunk and did not have the self-awareness that this conversation was like going longer than anyone wanted it to. And also was like trying to bone down on old Matthew Broussard. And I did not catch the signs to return the favor of intervention, and so he ended up talking to her for like 20 minutes, and then I felt bad because I was like, oh man, you fucking had my back, and I just let this lady bug you for so long.
I'll leave you two alone.
Yeah. He's like, we gotta come up with a hand signal for shit like that, and I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. He did this, by the way. Tell me if this is like, it's like SOS, if you can see this on camera.
Okay.
I see it, but it's like, I don't feel like this is that inconspicuous.
That's very clever knowing what it is before you started doing it.
Of course.
But if somebody just started doing that to me...
Yeah, we still had to establish...
I would be like, what's happening?
He wasn't doing it, to be clear. He just said, this is the hand signal.
This is what we're going to do. Right, but I've never seen that. And like, if somebody was like, I got to tell this person SOS, I'd just be like, this... I don't know what's going on in this person's brain.
We also had I had this moment with Matthew Broussard and Dane. I always am between Hesseldahl and Hessendahl. I think it's Hesseldahl.
Anytime I read a last name, I only pick up the beginning and end.
I got 2 syllables correct, and then it's a grab bag.
I'll like call somebody by the wrong name, like not to their face, but just in my mind. I'll be saying this like wrong name for years, and then finally I'll sit and like read through the whole thing, and I'm like, that was way off.
Yeah,
not even close. So
I didn't know Matthew was super into music. I guess I kind of would have assumed Dane was based on just gross stare. Dude, we got into a conversation about music where I was like just really trying to get out of it without looking like a fucking rube, because they're like talking about like and I even wrote down the names in my phone to be like, I guess I gotta check this out, because they're like, oh my god, there's a new secret album out and blah blah blah, and I'm like, I've never heard of these people. I don't know who these people are, and my whole life I've been afflicted with this. I just feel like I have no taste in music. I remember I went to studied at KGRG, the radio station in at
I always forget that about you.
Well, but I'm not like, I was not into the music. I wasn't there. There were 2 types of people there. There were people who were there for
the music. They wanted to be involved in the music scene.
Right.
And there were people who wanted to be involved in broadcasting.
Yeah, I didn't think you were like a Korn fan.
Well, by the way, you'd be shit on for thinking Korn was the music that was... They weren't playing Korn at KGRG.
What am I thinking of?
Maybe, I don't know, at the end, maybe?
What was Funky Monkey? I know what KGRG is now. I know what you're talking about now. Yes, they would not be playing Korn.
You'd have been shat all over.
What was
104.9. I don't know what the call letters were.
That's I felt like the call letters were similar. That's okay. This all makes a lot more sense because I was like, why the fuck were you on? Okay, I get it now.
Anyway, so I remember they were like, what's your favorite band? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I like a pretty wide variety of stuff. I guess I would say, like, I like Sublime a lot. And they were like, you fucking loser. Oh, my God, you corny piece of shit. And I was like, oh, dude, this, like, it's so funny that these same people would grow up to be the people who were asking for inclusivity. But also, but, I mean, a lot of these people became my friends.
Uh-huh.
But they were like, it was like, very much like, oh, I didn't know that I was like being set up to look like a fucking idiot.
I don't like this type of music fan that's like certain bands aren't cool to like, even though objectively like they're good at what they're doing. Like Sublime, I was listening to Sublime in high school. I enjoyed their music. I still enjoy their music. Sure. But there definitely was a time in my life where like I didn't talk about that because it wasn't the hip thing. If you listen to them, you know you're not hip.
To be like, oh, you like, I remember butt rock was a big thing. Oh, you like butt rock. And I'm like, then I found out what butt rock was, and it's just like singers who sing with strained voices or something. Like if you look up the actual definition, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I do. I think I just like butt. I can't beat this charge. Like I like butt rock. I
gotcha.
Guess. I thought it was like hair metal. I thought that's what butt rock was.
Yeah, I never knew specifically what butt rock was. So it's like Puddle of Mud be considered butt rock?
Certainly, but so would Nirvana. So would like. There's like
to put the two in the same category.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm not the one. I didn't make up the term.
These judgmental fucks.
I know. So. Anyways, it was like really brought me back to that moment where and neither of these guys were judgmental. In fact, but they did go like, who's your favorite super group? And I'm like, dude, I can't think of I'm like, I like hip hop. And that was like not a good enough answer to get out of the question. I was like, I like literally can't think of one. I don't know. They were like, is it this? Is it this? And I'm like, I've never heard of those bands. I don't know who's in those bands. I'm like, I was thinking like, Demigods is an underground hip hop supergroup that I like. Like it's so like I'm so far away from what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall like easily the most fun I've ever had in Seattle. I've had a lot of rough times performing in Seattle. I've had some really good times too.
Yeah.
But like I think like 5 straight shows of just like very good, and also like whenever I go to Seattle, I try not to have the like little brother complex, because I believe, you can tell me if you agree with this or not, I think the comics who are from Seattle proper, at least from the time when we started, look down on comics who don't go to Seattle proper a lot. Like
yeah.
And so I'm always up there like a little self-conscious, and because it's like the second weekend, and Broussard's a comic. Like people like that dude. Couple people came in to do guest spots, people that I like, people that I think, also people who I think have historically looked down on me, like for shit like that. Okay. And so I was like, wanted to do well, and I did great. Every set was like, I felt very good about like if I was going to rank myself on the show, which is like an innate thing that's incredibly unhealthy and toxic to do. But I was like, yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm pretty good. You can't deny I'm a good comic, you know? It was like, I had a person, I think I might have even talked about it on here, but they made fun of me on like a comment. They were like, this isn't funny. And I'm like, why is the crowd laughing? And they're like, do you need reassurance that you're funny, Casey? What kind of comic are you? And I'm like, yeah, man, that's what comedy is. You go all over the country trying to convince people you're funny. Yes, you stupid motherfucker. That's exactly what I need.
And laughter is how you know they're convinced.
Yeah. Like, another person go like, oh, you have time to be commenting on this? You must not be much of a comedian. And I'm like, who has more time than comedians? You're talking about the least, like the profession that requires the least amount of like daily tasks.
You have a full-time job on top of being a comic. Right. That's and how much time you have.
Oh, yes. Anyway.
Oh man, I'm really excited to see that room and get to play it.
By the way, Jess is on My Straight Friends, which will be long gone by the time.
And it's coming up on being sold out. I think this will be their most attended show. I think maybe in Seattle, because they do it down in LA, and they've got like
the Comedy Store. I bet it's
big names. So,
but I don't think those rooms are very big.
Oh, that's fair. Because it's like a multiple room deal.
So Jess is doing My Straight Friends tomorrow as we record this. Long gone when you hear it, but I will be there also July 30th. Same room.
Nice. Yep. Nice. I am just coming out of a very good comedy weekend.
Okay. We
worked together.
Yes.
How would you say that show went? How did you feel about that show?
So I had a lot of frustration going into the show that was not related to it. So first off, didn't sell many tickets. Didn't sell. I mean, it was okay. If it was not a door deal,
yeah,
I'd have been fine with that amount of people.
Right.
But knowing how much I put into ads, and how I was paying $25 to do the show, basically, that was frustrating. It's like a thing that happens when you're new to comedy. Is every now and then you run into a clunker and you're like, do I not put in ad money and not sell tickets, or do I try to like throw more on the fire?
Right.
And I guessed wrong. And so one thing I will say, we thought about not booking a host. I'm glad I booked a host.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, for you, I'm sure it was great. For me, it was also like, I was not in a great. I'm not like. I don't have a strong new 45. Since the special. I did no material from the special.
Yeah.
Some of it was like, I just go, hey, I'm going to do these new jokes that you haven't heard that, they might be good, might be bad. I said that in my set. I have a 10-minute chunk that I left. Like, I'm trying to survive without that 10-minute chunk.
Gotcha. Okay.
Maybe I'll put it on the next special. Maybe I won't, but it's like, I'm trying to like get 45 without that chunk. Because it is like a thing that's not an every room joke.
Yeah.
You know the joke, I think, but it's not an every room joke. I think my set was okay.
Yeah.
Probably should have picked a better feature, but no, I'm just kidding.
The crowd, I will say, felt it was like hit or miss. Like they were like on board for stuff, and then they would just kind of like shut down for other stuff.
I always say of that place when I'm describing it to people when I book them is so it's Bickerson's Brewhouse, Renton Highlands. The next show is August 23rd. Dis Casillas is headlining. We'll see who else is on the show because I'm not going to be on it because I will be in Spokane with Bert Kreischer. Not with Bert Kreischer. I'll be in Spokane. Bert Kreischer will also be in Spokane. We will be in the same building, but it's not like I'm touring with Bert Kreischer. I will be making, once again, for the second year in a row, the most money I've ever made on a single show and performing for the largest audience I've ever performed.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's right. Forgot you were doing that.
But it's at the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival. It's no secret. It's a Renton Highlands, so it's like the wealthier part of Renton. And it's a lot of people who like didn't want to buy a house in Seattle and also didn't want to buy a house like in an urban center. They like not in downtown Seattle, not in downtown Renton, not in downtown whatever. They wanted to be like have some property, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like wealthy, liberal white people. I always say it's way more of like a Capitol Hill or like a Queen Anne crowd than it is what you would expect. Because like Renton has a comedy open mic I think it's the longest active comedy open mic in the Seattle scene at the local 907 bar. Yeah. That is maybe non-comedy club one anyway. That is, one of the best open mics I've ever been to. It's like rowdy and fun and like blue collar working class dudes, not offended easily. Like none of the stuff that you may paint Seattle with in your mind. It's none of that stuff. This crowd does not match that energy.
Yeah. Yes, I would agree. I would agree with that. I think it had been a while since I had been on stage. At least like a few days. It was like a good enough chunk that like, and I've historically not done great in that room. Sure. It had been a while since I'd been in that room. I've gotten stronger since I was last in that room. So I was like, maybe it's not going to be as bad as it was last time. And I don't think it was. I think I did fine. But I did not sell any shirts for sure.
Neither did I, by the way.
I was happy about that.
I sold one sticker. I beat you in merch by $10.
But I was happy to do it specifically because it was a longer. I think I did like 35 or something. And I needed to get a set in because the following day I headlined at 6th Avenue.
Yeah.
Tacoma Comedy Club, my favorite. I fucking love that room.
June 22nd, Casey McLean headlines. I'm just piggybacking on every story you have.
Is that just a Sunday?
Yeah.
So, I would love to do like a residency in that room. That room is so much fun because you're like very low. I don't know if we've talked about this room much. If we have, I'm sorry.
I think so. I think we talked about it.
But like low stage, you're like in them. You're in there. So at the end of the show, at least like the people at the very front, you feel like you're like friends with them now.
You almost want to stage
what I mean?
dive.
Yeah.
But it's like, you want to stage dive, but you're not high enough to stage dive. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of be a stage fall over. But had a show there. I had James Fitz hosting for me. We've talked about him on the show. Love
He's
James
hosting my
Fitz.
show also, by the way.
He was coming out. He was like still not feeling great. I think he was in bed. He lives like a couple houses down from the room. He was in bed until like 15 minutes before the show started, trying to like get his energy up just so that he could host. He had like COVID the whole week before, lost like 15 pounds, just really, really hurt. He was no longer testing positive. He tested.
He needed those
whatever.
15 pounds.
He looked good. But he hosted, did a great job hosting. And then Gavin Howells,
Yeah.
you're familiar with.
Big fan.
Young kid. I think he's like 23 or 24 or something.
Don't like him anymore now that you said that.
He's got his whole life ahead of him. I think he's going to do great. Very funny, very like just likable guy. And he did his first club feature set there. I was happy to. People have been nice to me. You've been nice to me. Gabe Rutledge has been nice to me. So I try to like pass, you know what I mean? Keep that thing going. I like that. Feels good.
Yeah.
Feels good giving somebody their first shot. You know what stuff. So he
You know
featured,
what's really nice?
What's that?
Is when you give someone their first shot and then later they try to fucking cancel you with bookers for no reason. Like when they try to fucking ruin your career for no reason. This is something that's happened to me. Not you. You didn't do it.
Did I do that unknowingly?
No, you're the man. I've had a great opportunity to give like, because I've booked some variety shows and stuff there too, where I've booked people on genuinely. They're like that night. They're like, "Thank you so much. This is my first ever." And then like within months, they're like trying to like do like cutthroat sabotage bullshit.
That's shitty. People are shitty. These two. Good guys.
We'll see.
Good, solid
we'll
guys.
See.
Well, I mean,
we'll see.
I can only
Gavin Howells and James Fitz.
They've been very sweet so far. There were a couple people there. You mentioned guest sets earlier. There were a couple people there that very well could have done guest sets had they asked. Didn't ask, so I was like, well, I guess they don't want to do guest sets. I kind of wish they would have, because like it would have been even funner of a show.
Sure, funner.
Because they're people that I like. But Gavin had a great set. They loved him. And he did a thing that I thought was very funny. He mentioned doing it before the show, and I said, well, are you doing anything? Is this what you're closing with? Or are you like, you got some jokes? Because I'm like, if this goes to hell, you're going to want something in the tank. And which Fitz laughed very hard at. And then Gavin got all nervous. But he had a musical bit that he hadn't done in a long time. And
because that's the thing too, is when you're featuring for the first time, you're like pulling out all the stops. You're going,
yeah,
you got to fill that time with something, and so you're pulling out C+ material.
So
that's so funny.
He had like music set up, you know, he had music cued and did this thing that it was so funny. He did Don't Stop Believing. I don't know, who was that, Journey or something?
So.
But he he like rewrote the lyrics about is it Mormons? Because he like grew up Mormon, and changed the words to "Don't stop conceiving," which I thought was funny. And he, I don't know if this was a comedic choice or it just like he doesn't know the song well enough to do it karaoke style. Because there's like the music's playing, but just the music.
Yeah.
And he sang over it, but like started late. So like the words he's singing are like at the beginning they're matching up fine, but then the music is like changing and he's still singing like a couple steps behind over it, which was very funny to watch.
How long is this part of the bit?
I don't know if he did the whole song, but it was like
It's a lot of the song?
It's a lot of the song.
Wow.
It's a lot of the song. And so it just continued to get funnier because he didn't break. He didn't like try to like pick,
Is
like
he
catch up. That's the second funny part. When he began singing, because me and Fitz are like standing in that hallway between the green room. There's like a little mini hallway between the green room and the showroom. You can see like the side of the stage. He starts singing and I don't know if he did this to be funny or if it's like a karaoke thing where you start in the wrong key or like the wrong octave, Sure. But he started singing like falsetto. Like
which one's falsetto? High?
High. Way
Because
too
songs
high.
usually go low to high, right?
Right. And
I genuinely am not a music guy. So
this song also not a duet, but he started in falsetto and then changed back and forth as though it were like a duet.
Wow.
So he just started like way too high.
But he's legit singing.
I mean, he's not a singer.
But he's like...
But he's like, he is like singing what should be the song. You know what I mean? Like,
wow. Like he's passionate about... He's singing with
he's
effort.
He's making an effort, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's like trying to put stank on it.
I'm going to have to see video of this.
Vibrato or something.
I got to see video of this.
Yeah.
You gotta, don't protect him.
But
you send me video.
So he starts high immediately. Fitz and I are just like dying. And
I love that so much.
Why is he starting so high? Like no part of this song sings that high.
I love so much when you know something like that's going to happen and you get to just like watch. It's such a thing that it's so funny. It's like being an audience member again.
Yeah. No, it was such a fun night. But he sings, starts too high, then goes to low, and then he's like going back and forth between low and high, like it was a choice from the beginning. It's not matching the music at all, and he just stuck with it, and he finished. It did well. And then
Is that just the small town girl? That one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then like had a couple of jokes after it. Finished. Had a strong set. They loved him.
Do you think he's been to? Maybe they don't do this anymore. I think he's been to Jokers, or has he been to Jokers? Because don't they start the show with that song every show?
Oh, I can't imagine he's been to Jokers.
I think they blast that song loud to start every show.
Well, now he's got to do that.
That would be so funny if he got a bit burned by the fucking intro music. Oh my god! I can't feature anymore because they burned 5 of my minutes.
But that was very fun. I really enjoyed watching the two of them. The crowd loved them both, and it.
Both funny guys.
By the time I went up, I'm like, oh, this crowd is great. Like, if they like them, it was like such a perfect
like these losers
pairing, because they're like weird, you know what I mean? So it like fit what I was about to do very well.
Yeah.
So it was like a good gauge. And then I went up. There were some people showed up that I have not seen in many years. Somebody that was like a pretty big part of my life from back in my... not as legal days.
Sure.
And then like some people that I went to school with for years that I like didn't really, I knew them, but like we were never friends really. We weren't enemy. You know what I mean? It was just like two people that went to the same school.
I've had that a lot recently where people do. Tell me if you have this, because this might be, maybe not. I have people that'll just message me on Instagram and they're like, I'm going to this show. Are you on this show? And it's like, I'm on like 3 shows a year at the club you're talking about. Like, yeah, like, no.
Right.
If you want to, like, I mean, they're trying to be nice. But and they're trying to show interest. But it's also like, no, you don't want to actually see me either because I post when I'm going to be at places. I'm not like,
Yeah. No, this was like unexpected. Like they didn't say anything about coming. I've not talked to them online or otherwise. It's like since high school. And there was another person that I went to school with that like after the show messaged me and was like, great job tonight. And for some reason didn't come and say anything to me after the show. But when I did my special taping, a guy I used to work with like said hi to me before the show, but then didn't come up and say good job. That was so funny. It was just such the funniest possible thing to do. But like the wife was there. That was fun. And when I think I've talked about this too, where when my wife is with me at a show, I feel so much looser because then it just feels like I'm making her laugh in our living room. Like I get.
And we've talked about it many times. Good laugher, this lady.
Yes, and there was a point where I could hear her laughing, which just made me lean even more into it. I feel like I'm really starting to come into my own on stage, like really like reach my full potential of just like loose and silliness. Had a very, very fun set. I did pretty well in merch, all things considered. But I felt like after that night, next day, just woke up happy. I've talked about the lack of happiness in my life.
Sad boy.
I've past couple days happy as a clam. I'm
glad I could be here to throw
even around you. So happy.
Well, that's cool. I kind of feel that same way where I'm like, people are like, and this is something we probably talked about on the podcast already, but people are like, do you ever get nervous? Like if the crowd's really big? And I'm like, I'm going to go out and do what I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I do no matter what the thing. And and it's like, I'm at a point where it's like, I know it's going to work to some degree no matter what. Right. It's really rare that I would go out and, it's been a long time since I've gone out and it's just been like bad the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it didn't happen in the past. It certainly has happened in the past. But like, I got a bunch of jokes I've tested a whole bunch of times. Like, I feel very prepared for that moment.
Yeah.
So like, no, I mean, I did, I'll tell you about my weekend. This weekend, so the plan was Thursday open for Ismo at Tacoma Comedy Club. Ismo is a Finnish comedian. That's how much Jess hates the Finns. Jess is just fucking, he's disgusted. He goes, I did not know he was Finnish.
Every time I eat or drink is like the first time I've done it in my life. My throat just doesn't know how to handle it.
Oh, baby. So I worked with him many years ago in Indianapolis. I featured for him at Helium, Indianapolis. And it was late January, early February 2020. And I've told this story a bunch of times to a bunch of people. I remember very distinctly. By the way, he disputes a couple details. I brought it up. First thing I brought up to him, which was a risk. But again, it's like, there's a thing now with comedy, like you said, you go out and you feel loose on stage. I feel that too. I also am like, yeah, man, if he's going to like me or he's not going to like me, but I'm going to be the guy I'm going to be, right? So I'm going to bring this thing up. Because if he's such a temperamental guy that I can't bring up the fact that I'm pretty certain he gave me COVID 5 years ago, then he's probably the wrong guy for me to. And so, because he came into the green room in Indianapolis, and he disputes this one part of it, which is, my memory is he came in and they go, you want any food? And he's like, I'll just have a salad because I can't really taste anything. And I can't really taste or smell anything. And then he had this fever he couldn't get down. We didn't know any of the symptoms at the time, so it was like, we just all dealt with it. I was like, yeah, let's definitely sit in a confined space with you the entire weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And I was out there doing...
Let's sauna together.
I was out there too. They by the way, that's a Finnish... Or Finland is where saunas come from. Did you know that?
That's why I said that.
Okay. I did not know until I listened to Ismo's act. He has a whole bit about it. He's got like a 5-minute bit about it that actually cut into a reel for him to see if I could talk one of these motherfuckers into bringing me. So anyway, yeah, I was like working for a company where I was doing warehouse inventory for them in Indiana, Plainfield, Indiana. So I'm working like 9-10 hour days, going to the comedy club, there until, you know, I would usually leave after my feature set at least, so it was like a little bit of respite, and I'd get home or get to the hotel, sleep, come back the next day. I mean, just like long days.
Yeah.
And so I get home from that. By the way, it's also the weekend. I had a 6-month-old daughter, and I was getting onto a plane, and we stopped at like Applebee's on our way to the airport, and on the TV, Kobe Bryant died. That like hours before I got onto a flight to fly home to my 6-month-old daughter and wife. Him and his daughter died in a helicopter.
Yeah, I was going to say, good thing you were on a plane, not a helicopter. That'd be extra scary.
People definitely, you know, people have never had any issues for making Kobe jokes, so keep doing that. So anyways, then I got home and I was like exhausted, and my mom got sick, my mother-in-law, they both got pneumonic, undiagnosed pneumonia, without ever being near each other. They only saw me. My whole family got sick. Both my mother-in-laws got pneumonia, and then for some reason, for months after, I would do a lot of stuff where a lot of people would end up testing positive, and I never tested positive once. It took like 2.5 years until I tested positive for the first time. I'm not saying I had some kind of natural immunity from having contracted it. And by the way, this was also like, stuff got shut down in March of 2020, but they had a huge outbreak in Seattle in January of 2020. Indianapolis, they had literally the week before, they were like, we found existence of the virus at the Indianapolis airport like a week before we flew out there. So I'm pretty certain that's what it was. But so I brought that up to him immediately. He's like, nah, I don't think so. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna keep telling this story. So and then it was like cool. He's really funny. He does a lot of like really kind of like complex jokes about the difference in language between like just like somebody learning English and all the things that make learning English hard. Like the pronunciation differences, like one letter could make 4 or 5 different sounds potentially.
Right.
And I mean, this makes it not sound very funny. It's like an instructional guide, but he's like, they're great, well-written jokes, and get along great. I take him back to his hotel room. The next day, he's like, so you're gonna pick me up and take me to Seattle? And I was like, fuck, that was not my plan, but I can.
Oh.
But I got my wife is busy, can't get the oldest daughter. The other kid is at our in-laws just to like make things easier. My mom, who would normally be like the next line of defense, my sister was in Jamaica, so she's with my nephew in Seattle. So I'm like, to my wife, I was like, if it comes around, worst case scenario, I'll just take her to see grandma. You'll have to pick her up in Seattle, which is not a popular thing for me to suggest.
Yeah.
And we're like, that's probably not going to be what happens. Then it's what happens. So me, Ismo, my daughter, I pick my daughter up, and then we go pick up Ismo. My daughter and I pick up Ismo at the hotel. He's like for a kid, by the way, he's got like a crazy Finnish accent.
Oh yeah, that's gotta be fun.
He's funny, and he's funny to kids.
Oh, cool.
And he's also like he does like voiceover work for kids' movies. So he's like plays it up a lot. Like he's like, I talk funny. He does like a lot of funny stuff.
What a treat.
And then also like to me, he's making jokes where I'm like, you remember I got a kid back there, right? like, Jesus, dude. So we drive all the way up. He's got Ismo has like a very new girlfriend, and he's like, this woman. I'm like, I don't want to bring up his business, but she's gonna go get the hotel, and he's gonna like he flew her into Seattle, and she's gonna go. So we just go straight to the theater. We do sound check, which is always so funny to me that theaters make you do sound check. Have you done a theater that makes you do a sound check before the show?
Yes.
I'm gonna talk into the mic. You fucking if I'm too loud, knob up. They do this.
For a theater, it's one mic. Where like they're used to
They got goddamn
lot of
orchestras
moving
and symphonies,
parts,
but they got
lights,
union
and all
sound
sort of
guys.
things.
They need to justify, so they fucking.
Uh,
So yeah, they go. Also, they go up. Ismo goes up. They set his sound. I'm like, I'm quite a bit louder than him. Do you want me to? They're like, we're good. We got a fader for that. And then later, I like had to talk into the mic for something. They're like, oh fuck, you're way louder than him. And I'm like, I know. He's talks with the mic so far away from his mouth that
gotcha.
he's like, what? Yeah, I'm loud. I'm
Yeah.
louder than most comics.
yeah.
I'm significantly louder into the mic than Ismo is. So, anyways, though, Neptune Theater, I've never performed at a theater in Seattle before. Mm-hmm. I've done Everett and Enumclaw and Olympia theaters and Spokane and a bunch of theaters, a lot of places. Mm-hmm. But Seattle, again, it's one of those things where I have this inferiority complex with Seattle where I'm like, they think I'm a fucking loser. They think I suck.
Yeah.
And I think I've been right up until recently. And but no, this worked out really cool. And it was, I met like Ismo's manager, and they have like a tour manager that came for that, not for the Tacoma show, but for the Seattle show. And then I met his girlfriend, really nice lady she's from South Africa. And it's always nice when he's like, one, got along with her great, but two, she's like, you're so funny, like this, you're so good, and everybody on everybody on his crew is like, you should feel so great about that set, that was great, that was amazing, and it really feels, maybe it's nothing, but it feels like you're like, was this the thing? This is the thing I needed to crack
right,
and maybe
yeah.
it won't be. Maybe this is the last time I ever see Ismo, and he's fucking banning me from the country of Finland. And,
Well, after this podcast.
yeah, well, we've really trashed him on this. But yeah, it was like those. Do you have those? I remember one time I hosted for Ron Funches at Spokane Comedy Club, and I was like, hosting that far away. Luckily, I'm like friendly with the owners. They had just moved out there to Spokane a couple years before that. They were like, you could stay we have like a basement apartment. You could stay there. Mm-hmm. So you probably won't make money, but you won't lose money. It'll be like your gas is covered and whatever. So I was like, yeah. And like in my mind, I'm like, hopefully, it probably won't, but hopefully this turns into I get to feature. And I had like great sets. And I remember I had a great set, and then I walked back, and one of the owners was sitting at that back table at Spokane Comedy Club, and I was like, I think I just did it. And I was right. She came up to me after. She's like, this is great. I want to get you on the calendar to feature. I'm thinking this is like, you've gotten so good.
Nice.
And this is, I have that. I've had those feelings a couple times, and this feels a little bit like that, where it's like, maybe, I don't know what it'll be. I'm certainly like, he's going, by the way, immediately going on a European tour. So it's not it's not like catch up with me a week from now somewhere. I can't quit your job yet. But it does feel like, also, I filmed, and they were so appreciative of me filming in Tacoma. It's all union stuff, so I couldn't film in Seattle. They would have loved that, I'm sure. I would have loved it, too, because I'd have loved to have video of me having a good set. Instead of Tacoma was like a iffy set. So, yeah. Anyways, very fun. And I also think, by the way, and this is the part that's going to get me canceled from the Ismo World Tour. It was very funny to see. So when I worked with him before, he was married. And then I think shortly after I worked with him, they started to go through like a separation. Mm-hmm. And I don't know his ex-wife at all. But I just was like, oh, that's like interesting, because he just seems like such a cartoon character.
Wow.
That you're like, he's like the host of Top Gear in Finland.
Oh,
like,
wow.
He's like, in Finland, he's like fucking, I mean, I don't even know. He's like the Matt Rife of Finland, or the Kevin Hart of Finland. He's the biggest Finnish comic. Maybe the only famous Finnish comic. Have you heard of another famous Finnish comic? Mm-mm. So he's got the accent and all these jokes about kind of being like a fish out of water in America. But then you're like, oh, he's a fish in water in Europe. Like he's fucking, he's killing it.
Yeah.
And he's doing great here too. I mean, he sold, it's like a 700-seat theater, sold it out completely. It's been sold out for months. They would have added another show, but there was some union rule, so he had to do Tacoma instead.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And so this lady, man, and him, you remember when you first start dating someone and
Dude, I think if we left him, if we gave him 15 minutes uninterrupted, because there was like a photographer there, and he's having to do like read ads and shit for he's doing a bunch of stuff. He's got a lot of stuff going on in his career. So there's like, I think if we left him alone for 15 minutes, he might be a dad right now. Like, they were.
Wow.
It was hot and heavy. They were like she's like a very new, but you're like, oh shit, I should be nicer to my wife. Like this. Like we should try to rekindle some of that shit where you're like, you know.
Yeah, I don't. I've never been like a PDA guy.
Yeah, I agree. I'm on board. I'm the same. I'm also a repressed, like, fucking weird Northwest guy. But yeah.
Yeah. So I don't. Yeah, I can't. Because you asked, beginning of relationships. I don't think I've ever done anything at the beginning of a relationship.
Well, you were fucking in a bathroom and masturbating in every job or in earlier podcasts.
That was in private, though.
Well, I'm not. I mean, if we close the door to the green room, it's technically private. They weren't like banging on stage.
Yeah. I mean, none of my things were happening while businesses were open, though.
You weren't jerking off at work while the business was open? You went to work to jerk off after hours? What are we talking about?
I needed some place to go.
What are we talking about here? I can tell you're uncomfortable. I'm going to tell you the rest of my story. So I was supposed to open for Gabe Rutledge at Laughs Comedy Club. I canceled because I canceled the early show. And I was supposed to do the late show with Gabe. And then I, like, from the night in Tacoma, Ismo did, like, 80 minutes that night. And I was like, it's just probably going to be a tight fit. And then I got to the theater, and it felt like no one's going to be thrilled if I'm like, hey, I got to go run and do another spot down the street.
Right.
Like, it would seem unappreciative or whatever. And also, I was like, I'm kind of, like, vibing with the crew. Like, things are good, so I don't want to fuck it up. And I felt so bad, and I'm like, man, I just feel like I'm gonna fuck myself if I force my way out of here. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, dude, I don't care. Like, I don't like. And I'm like, but do you really care? Like, do you really? I mean, like, is this a thing you're saying because you're like, yeah, dude, I don't have to work with you ever again. That's fine. Like, you know what I mean? Right. And he's my buddy, and he's been so fucking good to me in the same ways you were talking about. And I agree with you, by the way. What you said earlier, I love giving people opportunities, both the people that I booked to open for me there, because it's just a Sunday, and it's like, I think it's a great opportunity to give somebody a shot. And so one of them is James Fitz, who I didn't know at the time I booked him that you were also booking him. But
well, so that just happened to work out because I asked for Gavin, and then I was like, whoever for the host, because I'm like, I don't, there's
Fitz, you were the second choice.
I would have been happy with any of them, but when I found out it was Fitz, I was like, oh, that's fucking perfect.
Sure. So anyways, I went over to the Laughs after the whole, Gabe was like halfway on stage. That was also kind of fun, by the way, to walk in, because there's been times like Laughs, I just never have thought they knew me well enough. I thought if I walked in and it wasn't one of the owners, which I might be right. I think if I walked in and it wasn't one of the owners, I think they would have tried to make me pay to watch the show.
Gotcha.
And that's not on anyone except for, one, my own insecurity, and two, me for not being up there a lot. Like, I'm not up there a lot. But I was like, you do start to realize, you're like, I go in, and they were like, hey, Casey, how's it going? And I'm like, is he still on stage? They're like, yeah, go ahead. And I was like, cool, bought a beer, tipped well, always tip well at the comedy club, by the way. Everybody, you should do that. Audience and comics, but especially comics is who I'm talking to. Mm-hmm. Go watch the show, and then we come out, and it's like, it's so funny. I had this with another club owner where I'm still the insecure bitch that I was when I started comedy, and I assume they have no idea that I'm like getting better. And then they're like, markets that you go to probably, like the owner was talking, she's like, you guys go to these markets, you guys, and I'm like, oh, it's so fun. Like, one, no, I don't really go. I mean, I'm like, I go to some places, but I'm not like doing market research before I go and making, I don't have enough influence over, I go to wherever they will take me, basically.
Right. Yeah,
I'm not like Well, I'm only going to fucking Cleveland in November because that's what, you know what I mean? Like, but it is, you go like, oh, I guess maybe the reason they're not constantly reaching out to me is because they assume I'm busy. And I am, but it's like, they know. They do know. They do pay attention. And then I had a cool, like, Gabe and I had fun time, helped him sell merch, even though I was like, showed up halfway through a set, but just like, I was like, I'll be trying to be useful in a tone for canceling. And then he was cool. I mean, Gabe's been responsible for like probably over $10,000 of income I've made in my life. So I'm like, or more probably than that. So I'm like, of course, I got to be nice to, I felt so bad. And I wanted to just be like, please fucking, let me get a little FaceTime. Well, let's gauge if he's actually mad at me or not. I bought him a bottle of whiskey last time we worked together, and I'm like, do I got to buy another bottle of whiskey? Jesus Christ. If I keep fucking up, I got to. But, all right. That's, come see me, by the way. You and I will have been in Lacey. We'll have another experience together when we record the next episode, but that'll be gone. June 13th, June 12th, I'm with Joe List at Tacoma Comedy Club.
I think I'm at Tacoma again in June. Let me look.
June
here.
13th, I will be at Jess is like narrating, pulling up his calendar while I'm trying to tell you. June 13th, I will be at Evergreen State Brewing in Gig Harbor. And June 22nd, headlining Tacoma Comedy Club. Come out to those. Please, desperately, please come out to those.
June 6th, I will be headlining at Fierce County Cider in Puyallup.
That's a fun room.
Off of Meridian. I haven't been in that room in a long time. I've never headlined that room, so that'll be nice. And then June 27th and 28th, I will be back at the 6th Ave Club in Tacoma, featuring for Jeremiah Watkins.
There you have it. Thanks, folks.
Bye, everybody.